Hello, welcome to Two on One, a conversation that takes place around 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central. Wherein I, the Reverend Arthur Stewart, and my co-host, the Reverend Stephanie Kendall, the two interview the one on a pop culture and theologically intersectional idea, concept, show, album, whatever may have you. Joining us today is the Reverend Christian Briones. Would you like to introduce yourself to our expansive audience?
For sure, yeah. I'm the Reverend Christian Briones. I am an associate minister at Mayflower Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The land, what do they call this? City of the Lakes, whatever we is out here. We are a progressive, justice-oriented community here in the Twin Cities. And we do a lot of cool stuff, and happy to be there. What else? Yeah, I'm excited to be on the show. You can follow me on Instagram at Christian D. Briones. Don't have a Twitter, and that's the only place you can find me on social media pretty much. Got Facebook, but I don't really that's kind of for the homies. But yeah, that was fine.
So for all of those watching on Facebook, hello, meet Christian.
Yeah, what's good, Facebook? Yeah, it's just my first and my last name. If you want to look me up, whatever.
All right, and our topic today is My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who are completely uninitiated in anime, in manga, and any of this kind of stuff, this is the first time we've delved into this over. What is it?
You asking me?
Yeah.
This specific anime? So to me, so it is a show that centers around a young man named Izuku Midoriya. Izuku doesn't have, it's a society where it's kind of normal to have superpowers. And about 80% of the population has some kind of quirk. They call them quirks in the show. Now, because more people have these powers, also the crime rate has gone up. There's more violence. There's more chaos in the society, and because of that, what is called heroism has also come on the rise. Heroism in the world in My Hero Academia. And I also need to say that I actually haven't finished the series. So I'm speaking from a perspective that I haven't seen the whole show yet. At this point in the show, at least, the heroes, to be a professional hero is monetized. And so it's like a career, and heroes work alongside of government officials like police to combat villains. So, and I could talk forever about what it is,
No, I think that's a really nice, yeah. Oh, sorry, keep going.
No. And so just to kind of start off, Izuku, just like so many other young kids, probably so many of us, has looks up to a hero whose name is All Might. And Izuku gets told at a very early age that he doesn't have the genes, that he doesn't have the gene that the doctor told Izuku, you can't be a hero because you don't have a quirk, you don't have a gift. It's not in you, type of thing. And so Izuku, his whole life, he's wanted to be a hero. He gets told he can't be a hero. His mom holds him as he cries and just says, I'm sorry, but Izuku still holds out onto hope. So yeah, I'll just stop there, and then we can
Well, and I think that it's important to name that these quirks manifest out of it's not like Superman who's from a different planet. It's not. It's from right.
It's akin to mutants in the Marvel universe.
Yes.
You're born with, and some may be beneficial for superpowers, and some may be you have an enormous hard forehead. It's a variety within there.
Yeah, and Izuku, or I keep calling him Deku because that is also what he is known throughout, right? No,
Yeah. You're right.
So Deku is also he's akin in the Harry Potter world to a squib, right? He's got parents who who have these quirks, who have his mom can, she's got telekinetic powers where she can make small things come to her, and his dad can breathe fire. And so he is waiting for his powers to manifest because there's an expectation that they will, because he comes through a lineage of quirk having people. And so part of that is his own, there's an expectation of who he should be, and a grief that we experience really early on of who he actually is. And I think that grief is part of the genesis of of this kind of larger quirk that ends up coming on, right? Because he says at the end of the very first episode, and for those of you that are watching this, we gave you 4 episodes to watch, and this is all part of that. But he says at the very, I think, end of episode 1 that, like, this is the story of how I became the greatest superhero. Like, so right off the bat that there is growth here, that there is a journey that we're about to take together. And so I don't know, I just kind of wanted to nuance that, I think.
Yeah, and that's cool. Well, what's cool about, so at least in this far in the show, it doesn't really take on Izuku's lineage. Like Izuku, I don't know if his mom has a quirk. If she does, like, she's been silent about it, or the show's silent about it. I have no idea if Izuku has another parent or if they're around. It doesn't seem like they are. So I think it's different in the way from Harry Potter, in that, like, Izuku doesn't have the expectation. At least the show is silent about an expectation about.
Well, his mom does say that when they're in the doctor's office, she says that I can draw small things to me, and his father can breathe fire. That is in episode 1. Yeah.
For real?
Uh-huh.
I thought she was talking about Harry Potter still. I was like, oh, and I don't know.
No, sorry. Arthur, keep going.
Well, no, I've got a question about this because I think it's an important one, right? So what we're doing is defining normativity, or that's the whole beginning point in this. And she can move things a little bit, and his father breathes fire, whatever that might mean. If we look at the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'm waiting for one of you nerds to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, because, oh my God, where are you?
I worked on The Last Airbender, the movie, so whoever's out there watching, come on. Okay. Well, we can talk about that later.
Sorry. Or if you look at Harry Potter, or you look at the Force in Star Wars, it's you have it or you don't. And this has shades of gray. And so, like, my question is, when we talk about normativity, where is that shade? I mean, I can talk about, as a gay man, the good gay stereotype. Like, I'm not too hands motiony. I don't have, whatever the case may be, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm saying that there's the stereotypes and there's the people who operate from said stereotype. That's any minority. But then what's that line between acceptance and not? What's that line between normativity and not? What do we do with the Olympics? Is Usain Bolt, in the world of My Hero Academia, someone with a quirk, or is he just a really fast human? So I guess the first question would be, and this is a church question also, how does church define normativity? Or can church define normativity? I'm sorry, should I have done like
No, I think it's contextual. I don't know, Christian, you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I mean, if we're strictly talking about, like, so I feel like, I mean, it is our task as Christians, as Jesus followers, to, like, usher in the future, right? Like, we're trying to create a new norm in some way, and that norm is in the future, and to bring that future into the present. I definitely think the church is called to kind of create a new norm, and I think at some point those norms and the way we think about existing and navigating the world, that will change, and those norms probably become oppressive, and so it's time to get into the struggle again. So
I think that yes, it becomes cyclical, right? And I think that is something that I was really drawn to in this world of My Hero Academia, because Christian, you named that your favorite line was like heroes and villains are cut from the same cloth or something. There's that line.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really interesting because so these quirks manifest in everyone. It's just kind of like how you use them, how they grow and differ. And so I guess what does that say about who we view or how we view our gifts and the choices that we make in using them? I think that Bakugo. Sorry, thank you.
Kachan, you can call him Kachan also.
Kachan, yeah, he's also like a Kachan. He at the beginning he's like a super bully, right? And so like. And yet there's this growth and this collaborative work that and understanding that happens with him and Deku, and so that I guess what are we as people who nurture and cultivate the gifts of our people, right? We're all three of us are faith leaders. We all
right.
We're in very different contexts as well, being in New York City, Kansas, and in Minneapolis. Minnesota, sorry. Yeah, anyways, but like, so how do we cultivate and name those gifts and say, you get to choose how to use them? What is our faith development around our gifts, one, and manifesting them to their fullest potential, and fullest potential, I guess, either way, right? It kind of splits. You can go full potential evil, full potential hero, and or just having them and going about your day, right? Like, and using them as necessity, or I don't know. So like, I don't know if there's a question in there other than I found the language around quirks and the usability of our individual quirks to be congruent to the gifts of the church that we talk about so often.
Yeah. So like I watch this if I'm like trying to get my mind off of stuff. Like I'm like, let me veg out and watch some My Hero. But it sometimes feels like a religious experience, right? Like I feel like I'm at some conference and there's some speaker firing me up. You know what I'm saying? Just like, and I'm like, oh, I'm at work again. I'm doing, this is continuing education for me.
I show this every week, but my notes this week, y'all, I have more notes this week than I have had for any of our other interviews because I watched these episodes and just, across the top of my thing says, our heroes have self-doubt and our heroes apologize. And what does that mean when we talk about, one, what is hero worship in the church? And two, what does it mean when they are emotionally aware and vulnerable?
Yeah, for sure. Let me run this back right quick.
Please, yeah.
To a few thoughts that I want to speak to that you said. So Deku and Kachan and Bakugo, and that's the one thing that I think is really cool about this show is that every character gets called like multiple things. So they have like multiple names, but they're still the same person, And I think that's just like a really cool thing in regards to like how we're perceived differently. And a lot of times like in literature and in movies, it's kind of anytime there's like a name, someone's name gets changed, that's always like it's a signifier to like a change in that person's character.
It's or a Saul Paul moment.
Yeah, exactly. Or who is this? Like Peter, who's like, oh, now you're called
Rock. Simon Peter. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but like in this show, they're constantly being called these different things. It's not like now you're this, now you're that. And one thing that's cool is that like Deku, for example, who is Izuku. I'm gonna try to repeat a lot of this for people who don't know or have been watching. So Izuku is also Deku. They're the same person. Deku is what, and I don't think this was in any of the episodes that I asked you two to watch or the audience. But Deku is the name that Kachan would call him to make fun of him.
Oh.
And it's a Japanization of Dick.
Is it?
Okay, so maybe I'll stop calling him Dick. Not maybe, I will. I did not
Well,
recognize
I'm sorry, Christian, continue your point. I
Well,
apologize.
no. Well, I think I didn't like. So when it comes time to change your name, when it comes time for them to pick their hero names, there's a really small battle that happens early on in the show, and one of like Izuku's partner in the battle, Izuku's fighting Kachan, he's fighting Bakugo, and then Kachan calls him Deku again, and Izuku like voices very clear that he doesn't like that, and he says, and his partner says, yo, why don't you, I think that sounds pretty cool, actually, why don't you like it? And then Izuku's just like, I don't know, he just calls me that. And she's like, yo, I think it actually sounds pretty cool, like that sounds like a rad name. And then so like later on in the show, when it's time for them to pick their hero names, Izuku says, my hero name's Deku. And then so people are like, well, why is it Deku? And Deku is like, well, because I'm reclaiming this thing that was imposed onto me. And so I think that that's a really beautiful thing. And a lot of the throughout so much of the show, there's just so many cool like metaphors and lines that happen. The teachers, so the reason, and I don't know if this is clear like in the episodes that I asked everyone to watch and you two to watch, but like Izuku ends up in the same school as like the kid who used to bully him, right? The school's called U of A. It is a school for elite young people who show promise in the profession of heroism. And so one of the things that like the teachers say to these students is like, your quirk is one of many things that's going to help you. Like your gift is not the only thing that's going to help you. Like you have to learn other strategies and how to cope and how to survive. Sometimes when you get out there, you're not going to use your gift at all because that's not what the best thing for the situation is. Sometimes being a hero means that you're going to turn and you're going to run away. Being a hero doesn't always mean that you fight because that's not what's best for the situation. And you always have to be aware of those things. You have to be considering all of that. And so someone like Kachan, who's a hothead and he's always ready to go and he's powerful, he's always screaming. Like that's a little bit of his downfall in the show. It's like he always wants to fight. And so
the fire thing when they're like when he goes to make fire and he like just blows through it, and because he hasn't engaged with others around his quirk.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so what's cool, and so one thing that you said that like really early on in the show is that it wasn't clear to you how Deku got his power. So All Might was he was quirkless. All Might had his quirk passed down to him. So there's like a lineage. Most people, yes, are born with like something, but there's also like a lineage of quirk that gets passed down. So when All Might met Deku, when All Might met him and he saw what he did in that second episode when he ran and tried to help Kachan, and he's like, this is the person I want to pass down my quirk to. And so Deku has All Might's power.
Gotcha.
Does that
makes more sense.
All Might at some point.
Yeah, so that's how he got his power.
Arthur, what did you say?
At some point, All Might will stop having his power. All Might will have completed his. Yeah,
that's correct.
I don't want to give too much away. I watched this a while ago, and like I had to like refresh myself on some stuff. So you threw out like a whole ton of stuff, and I wanna. So like the name shifts, right? And, we brought up inevitably Saul and Paul. Saul and Paul is code switching, right? Because no one in the Roman Empire, nobody in the Gentile world is going to understand why somebody would be named Saul. So he just goes by Paul. I have plenty of friends, especially of Asian descent, who have names that are very much, and they pick out an English or I guess Americanized version of said name. Like their name isn't Johnny. But it's easier to go by Johnny because you don't want to have to constantly correct people, but also people should probably figure out how to pronounce people's names.
Yeah.
But and part of that is there. You talked about reclamation of identity, of taking a slur, and I'm not positive, by the way, that Deku is Dick. However, I would argue that it probably is, because usually, I mean, just with Japanese vowels and characters, you're never going to just get Deck. I mean, maybe he's naming himself after Kelly from the Shoes video, who came back. Never mind. I'm out there. But with names and identity. So, but bringing up All Might, I want to throw something out there because I love this about this anime, and I think it's going to inform our conversation on that. You may have noticed that All Might is drawn differently from everyone else. He kind of has like that 1970s almost comic book, the big bulging muscles. He's supposed to look more Americanized. I noticed that the big bad, every time he's encountered with like the big like weird cape and the shadows and the darkness and such, that's meant to be a pastiche of when the 90s just went off the rail with pouches and hardcore bad guy. But I can't talk most to it except to say, so with My Hero, this takes tropes and it plays into them perfectly, because we have the outsider who's not born and is born not special and who becomes very special. We have just superpowers. Oh, the hothead has fire, go figure. But we also have and it's something anime does brilliantly. It acknowledges the trope it's using and it simultaneously embraces it and just breaks it.
Yeah.
So within ministry and identifying gifts, and within ministry and reclaiming names, I often feel like the Big C church is much more about preserving tropes. How do we, like with preaching, sermons, and I love preaching, I'm getting a doctorate in preaching, sermons are leaving the world of relevancy very quickly. Nobody wants to listen to anybody talk for 20 minutes. Catch us on 2-on-1, an hour-long conversation. Sorry. But we'll probably hold on to preaching for another 100 years, even as the world changes, because we love the trope.
Yeah.
My Hero both takes and shatters the tropes. How do we do that in church? How do we do that with potlucks? How do we do that with mission work? How do we, in whatever context, because I think all three of us still serve like congregational congregations.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, because what My Hero does is it invites you to hang on and to break it at the same time. And I'm pulling up, by the way, a cast list because I need to keep track of names. Yeah. If you see me looking down, I'm not being rude and just sitting on my phone.
Yeah. I think for me, like we have to decide what are the tropes we want to keep and what we want to let go of. And so I just like what's helpful and what's not. And I think just making those decisions like as we're going along, I think preaching, like speaking, some kind of oratorical dissemination of empowerment and encouragement and inspiration or provocation is just always going to be needed. You feel me? And the thing is like if it doesn't come from the church, it's going to come from somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like like
for sure.
And so like it's like, yo, if we don't do it, somebody else gonna do it, you know. And so like that's just something that's not gonna go away, you know. But and particularly right now during coronavirus, like our very much necessity of gathering in person is being challenged, right? Like how much do we need that to carry on as church? We're being forced to make a decision right now, like. Well, I'm assuming that y'all are meeting in person, but we're being forced to like not meet in person. So it's like challenging, you know, our tropes of like gathering together as a body and all that.
I mean, if you're not having the conversation of should you sell your church building right now to give to those that have lost, you know, everything, what are you doing? Right? There's part of that like we're getting down to the very core of what is church. Because we have to, right? Like we all have had to. And so I think permissive provocation, right? Like we need to be able to say, faith leaders need to have the courage and the internal permission to break those tropes, right? That's what we are called to do in this time. And if we can't do it, I think then that's the question of should you have you utilized your gifts? Have you allowed your
Mhm.
quirk to manifest in a way that truly is of leadership? I'm not going to call it hero
Yeah,
because I don't
yeah,
think it's the same, but it's a leadership quirk, right? And so I think that's interesting to say, like, how do we allow the tropes to die?
Hmm.
How do we force them to die?
yeah. And what makes that complicated is that like everyone's not gonna. There's not gonna be a consensus, right? About
No, of course not. Yeah.
yeah. So that's a
Um,
difficult thing.
so I have a question, only because we're dealing a lot, obviously, with Corona, and we are in a trauma built society right now, and no one is not. And so as we the one thing that I found problematic with the All Might Deku kind of lineage, right, the giving of the quirk, is that there is an expectation for our young people to carry the same trauma burdens as our adults.
Hmm.
What it mean? What like All Might is an adult person. Or at least comes off as such. Maybe he's not. I don't really know the ages of things, but we know that we start with Izuku or Deku in middle school, right? So there's he's young, and All Might when he meets all his hero, that he's not in school, so he's at minimum an adult. But there's this expectation that from All Might, from those that we have named as the biggest and the best who we want to be, when he hands this down and says, do this work with me, right? Like, is that asking too much of our young people? And I mean, I'm thinking of the ways. Yeah, please go.
No, say what you're about to say. I'm having a hard time with your question.
If All Might can't rescue one person, right? Or there is I forget what his name is, but he's like the tree dude. His arms go into branches.
Yeah.
And there's this one scene where he is carrying 4 people and he goes, "Oh, I'm not good with explosions. I'm gonna let someone else take this."
Yeah. He said, "Wood and fire don't mix. I'm out."
Yeah, exactly. I'm out. Right? Okay. So, but that means that he is leaving behind people to possibly die, right? Like, that's just like what that means. Like, if another hero does not come in and save them, I don't know, like, that's just the world that they're in, okay? But All Might saying, "Here's my power, you do the thing." If the tree dude went down and handed his lineage into someone else, that's not how I want to say this. I don't know. I think that there's an expectation of handing off our gifts to the younger generation, that we haven't journeyed with them well emotionally. Like, these adult superheroes can process, but Deku's 12. Let's just say, like, he's a middle schooler.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to me, I feel like it's hard, even for me, like, becoming a Christian, like, growing into who I am. Like, when I was young, when I was 15, 16, when I first said I wanted to do this, I want to follow Jesus, like, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know what, I'm just.
So do we baptize too early? Do we call people into the church faith?
We got baptized too early.
No, I don't think so either. But I mean, I guess if we're saying that baptism is a call into faith, a profession of following Jesus, and Jesus requires some really big things of us. I don't know. I guess that's it. That's kind of where my head is at.
I mean, I do not have like a particular answer for this question, because I
don't either. So
part of it was like, I don't know, like, if I would have known at that age that I'm getting myself into all of this, then I probably still would have done it. However, at that age, I just don't have the capacity to process what all of this means, and the emotional burden and the emotional trauma. So for me, like, I wouldn't expect an adult to walk with me emotionally or whatever, because I could not. Like, what would I? And so, and maybe I'm just trying to defend the show because I like it so much, but like,
it's a great show.
That's the whole point of them
it's
going.
Great.
that's the whole point of them being at school, is that these teachers are walking alongside them and they are teaching them and they are there for them and they have internships and they have like workshops and they have like,
well, and this is why we shouldn't proof text, period, right? Because I watched 4 episodes, and so I'm
sure. Yeah.
You're raising a good question about call and gifts and boundaries.
For sure.
I always get so frustrated at congregations. I've never served a congregation that has had junior deacons. And I recognize the argument behind it of like, they need to figure it out. But just about every congregation that has junior deacons understands deacons to be plate passers. Like people who assist in worship specifically for offering and communion. And therefore anyone can do it. And you don't need to have a deacon junior title. You can just be a deacon. And of course you get into the whole idea of like baptism is full entry into the church. And if you're baptized, you're a full member or you're not. There's no shades in this. I don't do explosions, I'm out. I loved that because that's boundaries. That's very clear boundaries, and it's accepting one's limitations, because here's what every single minister would do. I'm not really comfortable with this, but if I don't do this, someone else might have to. So I'm just going to go ahead and burn to death.
Yeah.
And that's
and then, and then like, that scene where he runs out of that fire, that takes like a deep like self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
In that moment, he's like, I'm made of wood, like I have my tree thing going, and this fire, it's not like, on some level it's not even fear, right? It's just like you're facing a logical truth that like, if I stay here, this is gonna kill me. So I'm out,
And it's the principle of organizing from Alinsky, the iron rule: never do for other people what they can do for themselves. And it's a world glutted with heroes, which kind of just astounded me. And by the way, I love the world building of like, they have to register, they have to be assigned. Like there's internships for superheroes, which I just love. I like it when world building makes sense.
I'm really interested in see like the trajectory of the story, because if I know correctly, the entire, like what's available to watch right now is it's not over, like it's not the done series, so I don't know what will happen. You kind of saw this in the very last episode, where the last episode I recommended for everyone to watch, where like the very beginning of the show, they're at a press conference, right? And they're there with the teachers and the principal, and they're like, yo, this big fight happened and so got hurt. What's going on at the school? What are y'all teaching these kids, And a big reason that was the last episode that I wanted everyone to watch is just like, I was like thinking about the importance of how like a collective narrative is disseminated like amongst the people, and like what that does, and so part of, I don't know what's going to happen in the future in this show, and I think Coda, for example, the little boy that was in episode 45, the third show, he's a really fascinating character to me, because like, and Izuku says this out loud, he's like, because Koda's parents were heroes and Koda's parents were killed by a villain, and so Koda associates, in his mind, there's no such thing as heroes or villains, there's just like quirkism. And he doesn't have an idea of that there's bad or there's good. It's just like, this thing in and of itself is bad. He associates his pain with quirks as a whole, And so it's just like, I think he might be a reflection of like a kind of attitude and posture that takes place in the future of the series. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm wondering how like a collective narrative will play out about and heroism.
And it's at minimum a collective narrative that I see happening in westernized understanding of Christianity, like writ large. That, it has the power to be really good and really hurtful. And there are people outside of it that just see it as hurtful,
right?
Because that's all they know, right? Like,
just write the whole thing off, no matter what it is. You're unintelligent. You're a dupe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This happens a lot. This happens a lot when I'm dating out here in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine.
That's a whole other episode,
Oh, we could do a dating app episode.
It's like you a Christian? Oh, never mind, can't even do it, And I have no idea like what they associate me with. I mean, that's a lie. I do have some idea, but I
in
also
Texas,
like
they would
what
get really excited if I was a minister, and that would absolutely end things. Like I needed somebody to be ambivalent about it because if they were excited, I was like, one guy flat out was like, I want to be a pastor's wife. I was like, yep, you're creepy. See you later. I get it. Sorry, I just had to.
Try being a woman pastor. There's a.
also what's the whole other thing?
I get one of two responses generally. I read an article on this. I get people that want to sexualize, like say, like, can I have sex with your collar on, that type of a thing, or they expect me to be very, very conservative.
Weird.
So those are the two that I get most often.
So okay, I'm sorry. I want to jump back through to this though, because
Yeah.
it's also the entry point of anime and manga as a whole, right?
Mhm.
So
Sure.
anime culturally in the US, it started to invade really in the late 80s. It picked up a lot of steam in the 90s, particularly because of Pokemon.
Yeah.
But I know, I see your Charizard back there. Anytime you want to do a Pokemon episode, because I have a lot of ethical questions. Like these are sentient beings and we're keeping them in little Pokeballs. What is happening?
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry. Pokemon really opened up the floodgates into the mainstream. But you started to see Naruto. My Hero has become a big one in the last few years. These episodic, but it's Japanese, it's Japanese animation and Japanese culture, which is not a bad thing. But it's weird because Japanese pop culture is highly influenced by the West, but then it's reinterpreted and repackaged into anime, which is then brought over to the States and redubbed and reworked because there's some problematic stuff in some portrayals in any media, especially also anime. Like it's a game of telephone culturally. And when we talk about the interpretation of the church, I think that's part of it also. Like I'll say this: Franklin Graham is saying this is what Christianity is, passed through the filter of anti-communism and evangelicalism, which has been marred by the Republican Party, which has been informed ultimately by white supremacy, which has some root in the Bible somewhere. But that's what when we talk about Christianity in the zeitgeist, Christianity in the world as it is, people are going to look at Franklin Graham way before they talk to any of the three of us, right?
Yeah.
Rude for my three nature, but yes, I agree.
Yeah. Well, and of course, I'm just fascinating. By the way, Christian, we haven't asked this, and God, we've been recording for almost 40 minutes. Are you familiar with the Enneagram? What number are you? Tell us all about it.
Badass. Yeah, I'm number 4, I think, the individualist. Yeah.
That makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. We like
I
it.
have experienced you as a 4. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like
It's good.
individual and it's misunderstood and all that shit,
Well,
It's
and
my
also
wing.
like
And I cry a lot. And I have to say
Oh,
that
can we talk about crying? Yes.
in relation to My Hero Academia?
Yes.
Yes, please. That was one thing I wanted to make sure to touch on. Like one thing that I love about Izuku is he cries all the time. Like he just cries at the drop of a hat. And for me, as someone like I see myself like I very much am a product of toxic masculinity.
mhm.
And one of the things that contributed to that was just like no portrayals of young boys and men who are powerful and who are strong, who I look up to, who also are comfortable with their emotions. And so here we have Izuku, who is powerful and he's strong, furthest thing from perfect, yeah, but we like him, and he just like weeps, and it's hilarious in the cartoon because like he doesn't like lightly cry, right? I forgot which episode it is, but where like he like looks up and like the tears shoot up like fucking like fire hydrants or something. And it's so funny. And every time I see that, it just like warms my heart because I think of like so many young boys who will be young men, who will be men, and just people who are afraid to get into their emotions, to feel and to cry. They're like, oh, like it's okay for me to do this because here's this really powerful character who cries a lot, and I can cry a lot too and still be powerful. It's not a threat to like who I am or anything like that.
Well, in fact, it's embracing it. I was a youth minister for far too long. And I remember at one point, Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Eighth Grader on our mission trip for middle school, was running and he was showing off and he jumped over a picnic table, but he didn't see the big metal beam above said table and he cracked his head. Like I was ready to drive him to the emergency room because I was convinced he had a concussion. And it was like out of a cartoon, like this goose egg, just like, so like he refused to cry, as in like was going to give himself an aneurysm. So like I had to tell the kids, like, you need to go, like go to the other field, go far away. It was me and the nurse who was there. And I'm like, you have to cry. Like this is a physical reaction. This is how your body's processing pain. And he's like, I do not cry. And I'm like, you have every reason to cry right now. And I nearly slapped him, but I thought that would just add insult to injury, literally. So I didn't. But like, we're all products of toxic masculinity, no matter how much we do or do,
Well, and that goes back to what I think early on about Izuku's gifts is like because he didn't have a quirk, wasn't born with this quirk. He really got to. It's like when you have one sense that is dulled, your other senses are heightened. Like he has a real kind of heightened understanding of the human condition in a way that allows for his hero gifts to manifest more fully. And I can understand now if in the end, if we're understanding this to be a large scale story of going from no quirk to the world's best hero, or like, greatest hero, that like the reason that he is the best and the greatest is because he fully embraces his humanity. And if we only lean fully into the resurrected Christ and we don't lean into the human Jesus, we've lost the reason that it's miraculous. We've lost the reason that it's not that it's special, and that there's something bigger at work. If all we know is magic, then what becomes special is humanity.
Right.
Were you raised in the church, or did you stumble in after?
I kind of a little bit of both. We say like casually Catholic. Like I had my first communion when I was like 5 or something. But like faith, like religion, it wasn't spoken about outside of after when I got baptized or whatever. Like it wasn't in my house. Like it wasn't something that my parents made sure to pass on to me or anything like that. So I had a foundation, but I feel like I rediscovered it in a really potent and profound way when I was like a teenager.
So you're UCC. We also should just like name that because Arthur and I are both disciples, and so but I serve a dually affiliated congregation. You're UCC, so just to name our context.
Yeah. Of our Venn diagram. My question is, like, I came to the faith when I was 20. I fell ass backwards into the Holy Spirit at a Quaker meeting house when I was hiding from a roommate who was trying to kill me. It's a long story. We're friends now. It's fine. Spiff discovered this call to not only church but ministry in her early 20s. You kind of
late 20s.
Late 20s. I always forget that you're like 50. And then
so close. So close to 50.
Hey, by the way, tomorrow's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And Christian, you found it as a teenager. We weren't steeped in it, right? And I know I avoided the church because I was told pretty directly I did not have a place in it. If we talk about this quirk type thing, Deku doesn't have to be All Might. And he hasn't been raised in the heritage of what it means to be a hero. And of course, we love the fish out of water story. But we get, you're grooving. Go ahead, please. I think you have something on there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this will speak exactly to what you were about to say, but as you were talking, I was thinking about if what you're articulating here is this kind of like, how do we reinterpret something for ourselves? Yeah. So
what
like,
happens if we don't have the rules to follow that everyone else holds so sincere?
Sure. There is a, so Deku, he uses his arms a lot like All Might does. And there's a I don't know, Yeah. It's in it's in the episode 23. Where
Season 2, episode 23 is what Christian is referring to. Just for those watching.
Yeah. Season 2, episode 23, where Deku at this point doesn't quite know how to use his quirk without it hurting him. So, like, one thing that they make very clear in the show, in that exact same episode also, is that like their gifts are physical things. Like their gifts take a toll on their physical bodies. It's not like magic in that like they can just like keep create this thing. Using their quirk will exhaust them. They will just get physically tired if they keep using their quirk. And so like for someone like Izuku, who kind of just found his quirk, and so what happens is that like he's used his arms so much that it can kind of like hurt him to keep manifesting his quirk, which is called all for one. No, one for all. All for one, one for all. One for all is like the name of his quirk. All for one is like the name of like the most evil villain. But this is a whole other thing. Like, anyway, one for all. Yeah. Okay, I'm right. Okay. And so there's an episode where Izuku he gets called to fight, right? Like something is happening or whatever, and he's thinking in his head, he's like, I just can't use my arms anymore. Like this is not gonna work. Anyway, so he uses his feet. He kicks the mess out of this villain or his opponent, or he kicks the mess out this thing, and then like everyone is watching him, and he realizes, he's like, oh, like All Might always fought with his arms. He always fought like with his hands, and like that's not gonna work for me. Like I still have the same power, but I need to learn how to manifest it with my kicks. I need to use it with my feet, because I'm this thing right here. That was All Might's thing. That doesn't work for me. I don't know how to do that. I already messed my arms up. So I still have the power, but I'm using it a different way. It's going to manifest through my kicks and through my arms. So when I think about like, I don't know if that's kind of like where you were going with that.
The truth is mine, but it's not only mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's your heritage and it's my heritage, but that doesn't mean I have to do it the way you did it. It means I have to respect what came before.
Exactly. So the thing, Reverend, is like, how are we going to manifest that? How are we going to manifest our powers through our experience and through our bodies? Because it could be somebody else's power, but it's in us now. But we're not them. It's going to manifest differently. Yeah. And then also, when I took in episode 23, this is why this episode was so profound for me. It might be my favorite because there was this conversation. They're opponents, right? They're opponents, but keep in mind they're in the same school. So they don't like hate. They're not enemies. They're just like,
it seemed like a friendly, like a real, like a friendly game for those of us that are in sports. Like it's not like it wasn't like a professional win or loser thing. It was like with your friend, we're gonna challenge ourselves to get better by using our gifts against each other. Because when we have to use our gifts against other people, we need to know how to use them.
Exactly. But keep in mind that they're also not holding back. They're
going, yeah, they're going full out.
This is like if I get in a boxing ring with my homie, like we gonna throw them bows. You feel me? Ain't no like, oh, you my friend. No. We gonna go to work. You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is this like Todoroki, who's like the half and half person, who
I liked him
shoots out ice out of one side of his body. He can also shoot out fire out of the other side, but his dad, who was abusive, has that fire. He got that quirk from his dad. And Todoroki is like, I'm not going to use my fire because my fire represents my dad. He associates this gift that he has with the pain that his dad caused him and his family. So he's like, I'm not going to use that. And so when he's fighting Izuku, like, he feels insulted that Todoroki's not coming at him with his full self. And he's like, yo, everybody in the school is using their whole self and they're trying their hardest. And I'm going to need that from you. And then there's that scene where it plays back in his own mind, all of those memories. And Izuku says to him, that's not your dad's. That is yours. You decide how you're going to use that. And then, Todoroki's just like, And then there's that scene where he just like kind of explodes.
And
the
our
fire
trauma,
starts- We what?
our trauma, our past, our harm, that's part of our full self.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
ignore that in the church. We ignore that as part of our ministry, and I mean ministry in all of this. I need to keep us cognizant of the time, and I don't want to because I have a proposition for you, Christian. But Spiff, I know you got a question before we move into the final question.
Well, I mean, it's in that same. It's in the same episode. That episode was very moving. I was so into the metaphor of using our full gifts to help other people realize their full gifts, which is like what he's doing in that space, which I think is really beautiful. But I want to focus us just for a hot second. There is a very, very kind of like third or secondary like C-list character in that episode. I don't know how she is in the rest of the thing, but recovery girl girl who is set there. And I thought it was and they keep talking about, okay, they've used their powers too much, she's not going to be able to, help him recover, whatever that looks like. And I wanted to ask what we think the difference between recovery is and healing. Because I think we talk a lot about healing in the church, but we don't align it with recovery per se. And so that was one of my questions on here, because I found her gifts for the whole, right? Because that's what she's using her gifts for. She's using her gifts for is to help other students. And also, I really loved the idea that she has to engage with other people to utilize her gifts. Like, I'm sure her quirk manifested. She cut herself and she healed, right? Oh wow, my quirk is a healing one, right? Or a recovery one, as she names it. But when she engages with other people, realizing that her gifts can do the same for others only happens when you engage with someone else. It's the same way I thought in the latter episodes that we had named, where there's that like foursome of the cats. And I was like, how do you they all have their individual gifts, but how does the church call itself to recognize that our gifts are stronger when they are in community?
Well, we read the letters, and we read anything that has to do with church organization from the first 300 years, understanding that you is y'all. Like 95% of the time, you is y'all. God doesn't give y'all more than y'all can handle. Makes way more sense than God does not give an individual more than an individual can happen, because we literally killed his child. Or sorry, not his, excuse me. Sorry, I'm working on the expansive language thing. Spiff, I do want to talk to you at some point about the whole God-goddess thing, because I agree. And it also just like, anyways,
Are you referring to my tweet from?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm digressing, and I certainly apologize. So Christian, here's my whole thing. I would like to have you back on as a guest, but I desperately want to talk to you about a specific anime, because I think it plays into the My Hero Academia tropes, and I think it would inform our conversation for the next part. It is called Samurai Flamenco. Have you seen it?
I've never heard of it, I don't think.
Okay. It is the weirdest, most and Spiff, I'm sorry, I'm just scheduling this for
I'm in.
Samurai Flamenco.
I'm here every week no matter what.
It's one season, and it's a male model who's trying to be like a street level hero. So he has the tactical gear or whatever, and he just gets his butt kicked. But then the series takes a complete left turn, and you're like, wait, what? And the world just keeps shifting around this narrative, and every time they resolve it, it's I don't want to spoil it. It's so damn weird, and it's so fun, and I think we need to have you back, but also talk more about My Hero Academia. In regards to this, because I now want to just rewatch the show. Yeah, like I want to watch the full thing and have a much better.
One of my favorite. We have an episode of West Wing coming up, and one of my favorite lines of West Wing is we talk about enemies more than we used to, and I think that when we in hero language and in hero worlds, I really want to explore with you, Christian, what we can learn from the quirks of our enemies, knowing that they can morph and change, and how we prepare ourselves to engage them, because we look at we, I think, socially have committed ourselves to extinguishing the gifts of our enemies rather than preparing our own gifts to be collaborative and to work with and for, right? It's a we need to get rid of them rather than we need to reform them, or we need to learn and grow with them. And so there's so much, like I said, there is so much happening here, but I do think we need to get to the final question of this episode. So Christian, as you know, is that okay, Arthur? Sorry.
No, I think it's great.
Okay. As you know, it's the one question that we gave you ahead of time. It's the one scripted question of this. And so you get to answer first. In what biblical story or person or theme or book are you most reminded of in My Hero Academia, in its characters, in its plot, in it writ large? So the floor is yours.
I would say the Syrophoenician woman found in Mark 7. I think the story is also retold in Matthew. But what I see happening in the story is this woman, we have our hero Jesus here, who ends up being we're introduced to the hero and ends up being like the hero of the story, la da 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 da, Jesus. But here is a woman who is not even named in the text. You know, a lot of people just forgot about her, who, from my reading, called something out of Jesus, called out more compassion, called out more love from Jesus than Jesus was ready to give. Like, this woman asked Jesus to step into more compassion than he wanted to give, more justice than he wanted to give, and contributed to Jesus, who the Jesus, like the hero that is Jesus, if we want to call Jesus a hero even. Yeah, and so
Well,
I think like
that's a question.
Throughout the show, have me on next time. No. Throughout the show, there's a constant like calling out of, like, sometimes it's their own like students, sometimes it's the friends that call, sometimes it's their opponent that calls, sometimes it's family that makes them feel like crap about themselves, and sometimes it's strangers that call their gifts out of them, you know. And so there's a constant like dance and back and forth about who is calling the gifts out of these heroes, you know. And so yeah, and so that's the story I think of, just calling out the gift out of the gifted, you know.
I love it. You want me to go, or you want to go, Arthur?
I pick Samuel, the prophet.
For whom?
I'm going to say for Deku, but I'm going to say it's more of Samuel was kind of thrust into this position, and he's the last judge. But he's absolutely doing the judge thing as he should, but he's also not. And he has a vested interest in both the status quo and being faithful to where the story is leading. Samuel and Saul may have been the same person, or rather, the tradition may have split in order to make Saul highly incompetent and Samuel very competent. But that explains why Samuel acts like a king, or acts like and who better than the last judge to be the first king? We have Samuel's not a hero and Saul's not a villain. And they're cut from the same cloth. And what I love about the first Samuel through Second Kings narrative is that the whole thing is so damn ambiguous. Because it's the official propaganda account, and David comes off like an enormous asshole. So then it's what was he really like? If the official story is like, yeah, you don't harm the Lord's anointed, what does that mean? And it's killing the trope while it's building the trope. And I got, I will borrow from Aaron Houchin for the rest of my life and say that the whole Samuel King's narrative is a mafia story, not a royalty story. And My Hero Academia, like I love the American comic book realm, and it's not an American comic book story. It has way too much compassion and way too much like humanity in it. But
So I will name that in preparation for this week, Ransom Fisher, one of our past guests' son, has been helping me out, and so I asked him his answer to this question, and so I want to just give his before I give mine. He landed on that Deku is either David or Jesus, because there's a real kind of underdog story that you're supposed to, he's someone that you're rooting for, right? Like that's all these things are thrown at him, and yet you're still rooting for him. So thank you, Ransom Fisher, for helping me out.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, thanks, Rand. I landed for Deku as one of the as the gospel narrator, because he keeps writing and telling the same underdog story 1,000 different times while still focusing on this kind of one singular character. And I kind of named the entire MHAU or My Hero Academia universe as the Bible, because it's telling the same story lots of different ways, right? There's so many flashbacks in all of these episodes. You get through like 7 episodes and you've seen the same story from different vantage points.
Right.
Which I think is really helpful. But it also then will every once in a while just like throw in a curveball, right? All of a sudden you get like really adult language, really like really sexualized language, or really aggressive language. And then it goes back to like, I really hope I'm a hero one day. It's like, there's a real kind of understanding of like the underdog, kind of where you're rooting for him, and then all of a sudden 42 children get eaten by bears, and then you just keep moving on, right? And so those were I also said that there's kind of an All Might Job thing happening. And if you look at Deku as God and All Might as Job, the relationship there of what he can do and what he is actually capable of doing, I find to be an interesting kind of parallel.
Yeah.
So that is how I answered our final question. Travis, where is our song?
Where's our song, Travis?
Where's our song, Travis?
We harass our friend, the Reverend Travis Smith McKee, who said, I don't even think he said he'd write us a song. We just told him.
He did.
Oh, okay.
He said he would make a song for us. So.
All right. Well, Christian, thank you very much for your time and for being volunteered for another one of these episodes. Samurai Flamenco. It's so weird.
I'll check it out.
Good.
Well, next week we have Charles Anthony Bryant joining us for a conversation on Umbrella Academy.
Dope.
And then we go into a 2-part series around the Emmys, before and after the Emmys. And we're doing Schitt's Creek for both, joined by before the Emmys, the Reverend Aaron Wathen, and after the Emmys, the Reverend Danny Golden.
In October, we're working on Polit-October or Politictober. I don't know.
Politico-October.
Politico-October. No, that's not
Yeah.
good. And that's in the works. And of course, we'll be harassing Christian back about more My Hero Academia, because all of these topics are so big. Maybe they shouldn't stick to an hour. I don't know. Maybe we do multi-parts. But thank you. Please share.
Thank you.
Please get in touch with us, 2on1project@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook. Tell all your friends. Goodbye, everybody.